Hi, and welcome to Inside the Huddle. I'm Daily Review Sports Editor Geoff Stoute here with Patterson football coach Marvin Dantzler. The Lumberjacks this week will be at home. It was originally a road game, but got moved to home to face Ellender. Patterson will be looking for their first win of the season after starting the year 0-3, although against two 5A teams and Class 2A Power who have a combined record of 8-1. Coach, like I just said, schedule has not been easy to say the least. I look at it and I say Hahnville 30 points, Catholic High 21. That's two teams that could probably put up a lot of points in bunches. I mean, granted, the offense hadn't been able to score, but defense, you're going to be better off playing those games.
Oh, I agree, and I knew that taking the job, and it's nobody likes to lose, but that's kind of been a pattern. We schedule hard here, and then once we get through that rigorous non-district schedule, they tend to do pretty good in district. So I'm hoping the same. I thought we had a great week of practice, and I'm pleased with the way we're playing defense. Like you said, Catholic High has been scoring about 50. We hold 21. We just got to be able to move the ball and get some drives and help our defense out.
Coach, in the second half last week, you went with freshman Randy Paul, and you're going to start him this week. I remember him from the spring game, and you said that. What I remember from him is pretty good arm and could make some things happen with his legs. Give me your thoughts on him and how he's looked in practice this week.
He's had a good week. We've actually worked 3 different quarterbacks this week. We continue to work Dylan Gentilon, even though he's playing defense now. Remember Hector Talento, he was hurt for 2 weeks, so he's back in the rotation. He's had a good week of practice. And of course, I like what I see with Randy, but you also want to pace a freshman. We don't want to put too much on him, but he's been able to handle it so far. But we've also done some things offensively that I think is going to help us get the ball into more playmakers' hands.
Mm-hmm. So you're still going with Randy, but you just have those other 2 options.
Correct. Well, we're going to probably split. I think it's going to be Hector Talento and Randy Paul. I'll make a decision probably after today's practice.
Mm-hmm. So, obviously this week the game originally scheduled for Ellender moved here. I guess talk a little bit about that. Obviously, it was unsafe over there with the field.
Correct. They've done a good job of communicating with me and our people over here about the situation over there. So we was trying to get it over there for Thursday. Of course, all the fields are in bad shape. So I was like, hey, our fields in pretty good shape. We'll just play it here on Friday instead of trying to play a Saturday game. So it worked out for everybody. But still we have to prepare and get ready. Ellender's 2-1. And they have some athletes.
Give me your thoughts on Ellender, what they run offensively and defensively.
Number one, it's an outstanding athlete. I think a basketball player from what I've heard. He plays quarterback and receiver. He's the guy they're going to get the ball in his hand, whether it's handing it off to him or trying to throw it to him in the slot. They're a spread team, 2-back system, gun. Defensively, they run a 4-3. We'll see a lot of man-to-man because they have athletes, so they'll probably play cover 1 mixed with some cover 2 look. They're better than I think they've been in years past because those kids have been playing 3 or 4 years, so it's the same kids that's been playing. But we like how we match up against them.
And like you, they have a new coach,
Correct.
a long-time defensive coordinator at South Terrebonne, and
Yes.
They've always had athletes. It's just a matter of putting it together. On the
Absolutely.
field. So, all right, Coach. Best of luck this week.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A little bit more on Patterson and Ellender. Ellender comes into Friday's game, as Coach Dantzler said, with a 2-1 mark. They beat Bonneville 12-0 a week ago. Patterson, meanwhile, their offense this year has been led by quarterback Dylan Gentiloni, who is switching to defense, but is still obviously an option at quarterback. Coach said last week that he still may play him at quarterback or could play him at quarterback. He's rushed for 205 yards this year and thrown for 192 with a touchdown and 3 interceptions. Randy Paul had limited action last week. He played in the second half. He went 0 for 1 passing and had 1 rush for 3 yards, but we'll see more of him this week, I'm sure, or either Hector Talento, who has experience from previous years at Morgan City, and played some last year at Patterson. The Patterson receivers are led by Jordan Butler, who has 127 yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, the first game of the week is going to be at home between Central Catholic and Morgan City. It'll be in Morgan City. Central Catholic is currently has a 2-game losing streak. They fell to Opelousas Catholic by 7 points, and then they fell a week ago to Ascension Catholic by a touchdown. It was the same kind of game. They scored first against Ascension Catholic, then fell behind, then rallied and gave themselves a chance late. Fortunately, they couldn't get the onside kick with less than a minute remaining, and Ascension Catholic was able to run out the clock. This week, they'll face a Lafayette Christian team that's led by a talented sophomore quarterback, Zach Claymore, who has the ability to, who is very good with running the football. They run a spread offense, Coach Minton said, but they give the ball to Claymore a lot. It's basically they run the spread and Claymore runs when he can. Defensively, they run a 3-3 stack, and Coach Minton said they're aggressive. They're also of note led by first-year head coach Trev Falk. For all you LSU fans out there, Trev Falk, a former LSU standout linebacker back in the late 90s. Coach Minton also noted that in the Jamboree and the first 3 ball games of the season, Lafayette Christian has trailed in all 3 and won 3 of those 4. The one game they lost was to Laurelville. They lost 22-20. For the Eagles this year, they've been led by running back Chris Singleton, who has 265 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns, while Blake Byrne has passed for 322 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And the receivers, leading the receivers is Greg Leger with 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, in Morgan City, we'll have the first of 2 homecoming games this week. Morgan City will host Cohen. The Tigers are 2-1 this season. They won last week 44-16 against North Central. Cohen, meanwhile, is 0-3 this season, and they have low numbers, and they've had a rough go at this year. They haven't scored any points. They've been outscored 138-0 in their first 3 games this year. Ethan Ciano leads the Morgan City rushing attack this year with 167 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Isaiah Escord has thrown for 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And Kalen Hillen leads Morgan City's receivers with 178 yards and a touchdown. The second of 2 homecoming games this week will be in Berwick, where the Panthers will host Franklin in both teams' District 8 3A opener. A week ago, Berwick held on to defeat Varnado. They led 30-7 after 3 quarters, and Varnado made a late run in the last 6 minutes of the ball game to cut the lead to 30-23. But a late defensive stand by the Panthers held off Varnado. Franklin enters this week's game with a 1-2 mark. They got their first win of the season a week ago with a 6-0 victory against Jeanerette. For the Panthers this year, Josh Jones leads the ground game with 212 yards and a touchdown, while Colin Louvier leads the passing game with 460 yards with 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He also leads Tri-City area passers. Josh Carver has been lights out this year for the Berwick receivers. He has 316 yards and 7 touchdowns. He has 8 catches this year, and 7 are for touchdowns. And Keenan Jones isn't far behind for Berwick. He has 281 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. That's another edition of Inside the Huddle. Thanks for watching.